Aetherdrift spoilers are here. New cards PogChamp. So yeah, they're basically just giving us a quarter of the set every single day, which is kind of wild. So we have a lot to discuss today. A lot of cards to go over. I will say I haven't seen every single one of them, but I've seen probably like 60% of them. But we have some stuff to go over for sure. I'm probably not going to go over every single one. Like, good chance I'm going to skip some of the like limited uncommons and commons and such. All right, I mean, let's just get started, right? Let's just dive right in. I'm gonna click refresh to see if there's anything that I missed, and we're just gonna go in the order that is presented to us. Let's do it. All right, shall we? So, Avishkar Raceway. All right, we could talk about this new mechanic. It is called Start Your Engines. It is referencing speed. So it says if you have no speed, it starts at 1. Increases once on each of your turns when an opponent loses life, and max speed is 4. Here we go. So this is kind of what the token looks like. So you can keep track of it when you hit like the first point of damage, the second point of damage, the third point of damage, and then so on and so forth. Now, here's the question. So in order to like start the process, and I'm assuming that you need to have a card that has the Start Your Engines ability before you can start tracking it, right? So in that case, let's assume that there's some playable like 2 mana Start Your Engines card, right? That means you're playing it on turn 2, right? Ideally, you can play a 1-drop on turn 1, some, Spyglass Siren or whatever. Then turn 2, you play the Start Your Engines card, attack them 1. Turn 3, you attack them, that's 2, right? Or turn 2, 1, turn 3, 2, turn 4. So basically, you can't really get to the 4th, like the full level until turn 5 at the earliest. And that's assuming there's a playable 2-mana card. Okay, so it's turn 4, right? So it's, I don't know. It definitely will be dependent on how, like, the power level of the specific Start Your Engines card. It's a cool ability. Ooh, that's kind of nice. Colorless Land plus Gingerbread is level 2 on turn 1. The problem is then you have to put the Raceway in your deck, and this card does not seem very good. It's a colorless land that eventually turns into a land that you can pay 3 to loot, so probably don't want to be playing this card, but the ability itself is kind of cool. Yeah, these are mostly limited stuff, so land enters tap, choose a color, tap, add 1 mana in the chosen color. Cool for limited. This one is engines, and then you can turns into a land that you can give something haste. And then my pick of these 3 raceways, this is probably the most powerful one, where once you get to max speed 4, you now have a land that makes 2 mana. So, I don't know. I'm not exactly sure if if we're going in that kind of perfect scenario world where you, this is Magical Christmas Land, right? You have the Raceway and Gingerbread on turn 1, right? To get to level 2. Then turn 3, you now have a land that makes 2 mana, but that's assuming that you have other ways to attack, because presumably your opponent's going to kill your Gingerbread. There might be cards that kind of accelerate the process that give you more speed. So we'll have to see. Like, if you show me a land that makes 2 mana, like I at least you have my attention. Again, the question is how easy is it going to be to enable this? That I think it's going to be. I feel like it's pretty tough. So cool card, but how do you pronounce this? Is it Vnwxt? I'm assuming it's Vnwxt or Vnwxt. If the W is silent. Homunculi are always like this. Yeah, but Fibblethip kind of, I don't know why, but Fibblethip kind of rolls off the tongue a little bit more. Like, easier, you know what I mean? Pronounce it Craig. I thought it was Steve. Oh, it's like German kind of thing? Vnwxt. Anyways, 2 mana 0/4. Start Your Engines. You have no maximum hand size, and then if you would draw a card, once you get to max speed, if you would draw a card, draw 2 cards instead. The only problem I have with this card is I'm not really sure that blue decks are going to be able to... Well, I guess that's not true with, like, Dimir midrange, because you can play, Flood Pits and Spyglass Siren and stuff. It is nice that this doesn't die to nowhere to run, so... Yeah, it is pretty hilarious that it's 0 power and then has Start Your Engines, because you can't ever use the Vnwxt to, to actually keep going. And I'm assuming that was a power level thing, right? Like, this thing with 1 power is maybe too good, because you just kill their stuff and attack. Like, it's sort of like a self-fulfilling thing. So, I don't know. Cool card. I doubt it's playable. Kind of depends on how easy it is to get the 4 speed in a blue deck. Does each card have individual start your engines, or if you get 4 once, then you're done? It's like a quest kind of thing. Once you get 4, then, so like, once you have the emblem of 4 speed, or whatever it is, it's just, you have perma speed the rest of the game. Like, every single card is just turned on. So, at least that's the way that I understand it. Alright, we have the Equipment Planeswalker. I will say, this is not exactly what I expected. So, 4 mana for 4 loyalties. As long as it is attached to a creature, the Aetherspark can't be attached, and can't be attacked, rather, and has whenever equipped creature deals combat damage during your turn, you get that many loyalty counters. You can +1, attach it, and put a counter on the creature, -5 to draw 2, and -10 to add 10 mana of any one color. I mean, I guess the idea is that when you attach it, they can't attack it, but I'm assuming that, similar to how equipment works, when you attach it to your creature and they kill your creature, then you just have a planeswalker. Is that correct? Yeah, it does that to like shatter effects like Terra Sunder and stuff. Yeah, I don't know. This card seems not very good. 4 mana for like 4 loyalty. Like, you're not even getting that much of a benefit. You know, like when you +1 it, you get a counter, so you get no other benefit to the creature other than putting loyalty on the Aetherspark. Sure, you can like make a bunch of mana, but I don't know. I don't buy it. I don't think it's very good. I think it's pretty bad. Mendicant Core Guidelight. So 2 blue and white for a *3. Power is equal to the number of artifacts you control. And then has start your engines. And when you have max speed, when you cast an artifact spell, you may pay 1. If you do, copy it. There's maybe something here. Because getting to 4 speed and then getting to pay 1 mana to copy every single artifact card, it's kind of cool. Kind of a sweet design. Yeah, not a huge fan of this one. Pathmaker, this is just a limited card, right? Yeah, limited card. Next. Winter is blue-black for a 3/2, ward, pay 2 life. All artifacts you control have ward, pay 2 life, and you can pay 4, tap, exile X artifacts from your graveyard. Each other non-artifact creature gets -X/-X. Not the worst, right? It could be okay. I mean, you need a lot of self-mill for this, right? You need to be playing a lot of artifact creatures, so you kind of want to be playing a lot of artifact creatures in blue-black, which I'm not sure there's a lot of, or, you know, like Surge Engine, stuff like that. And then a lot of self-mill, like Baelmerk and things like that. So I don't know. Maybe there's something here. Basically, like, is the payoff worth it? It's close. Like, if you have enough artifact creatures and you can turn this into a one-sided breath, it's kind of nice. We have the Undertaker's finishing move, the Last Ride. 1 mana, 13/13, gets -X/-X, where X is your life total. You can pay 2, it's Death Shadow. You can pay 2 and a black, pay 2 life, draw a card, and it has Crew 2. This card is sick as hell. I don't know if Death Shadow style effects are going to actually be good in Standard, but I mean, this one's got to be close, right? Yeah, that's the thing. In Standard, how do you pay life? There's not really a lot of good opportunities. Sure, you can cast it on turn 1, and that aspect is great, but like Bitter Triumph, Painlands, Bronco, maybe, Gix, like there's just not a lot of ways to pay life in Standard, you know? Sure, it's sort of self-fulfilling, but it's also very expensive. Could do Annex, maybe? Yeah. Alright, we need to get the elephant out of the room, or in this case, the Beast Noble. Alright, I want you to read this card, okay? I want you to read this card, and then after you read this card, I'm going to also have you read the next card that I'm about to show you. Give me a sec here. Okay. Are we good? Have we read the card? 5 mana, 2/4, double strike, vigilance, haste. Exhaust, which means you can only activate one of these each of these abilities once. Green, tap, add 3 mana. Blue, tap, draw 3 cards. Red, tap, deal 3 to any target. Well, you probably know where this is going. Yeah, this is in standard, by the way. These are just cards that you can play in standard. This is kind of ridiculous. The way that I understand it, this is how I understand it. So exhaust says activate each exhaust ability only once. So my understanding is that those 3 abilities are tied to each individual piece of cardboard that has that text on it. So if you have 3 creatures in play with +1/+1 counters and you have loot under a cauldron, you can do, if you have 3 blue mana, you can tap all of them to draw 9 cards. Or if you have 3 red mana, so on and so forth. And I'm assuming that each individual creature past that gets a new set of loot abilities. I think that's how it works. You also don't even need the colors. I forgot about that. Jesus Christ, I forgot that you don't even need the colors. Holy shit. I forgot about that. Okay, yeah, this is stupid. Come on, man, what the hell? Holy... my goodness. Arcanus who? Yeah. I mean, Arcanus is nice because you don't need the mana, but you have much more flexibility with the loot, you know? It's also double strike haste. Yeah, I mean, loot is just a good card. You don't even necessarily need to, be doing the Cauldron combo. Loot is just a good card by itself, right? I will be playing a lot of Cauldron loot decks, I'll tell you that much. Yeah. But really sick card. Really sick card. Enough talking about loot. Let's move on. So, Far Fortune End Boss. This is 4 mana for a 4/5. It has Start Your Engines. So, for those of you who don't know, if you have no speed, it starts at 1, and then your speed increases once on each of your turns when an opponent loses 4 life, and the max is 4. So, ETBs start at 1, attack them 2, once per turn, so on and so forth. So, whenever you attack, it deals 1 to each opponent, so kind of self-fulfilling. And then max speed, if a source you control would deal damage to an opponent or permanent, it deals that much +1. For a 4-drop, not sure if I'm a fan, because if you think about it, if this is your first Start Your Engines card, best case scenario, you play it, you start at 1, you attack that turn, because you can trigger it, go to 2, then turn 5, you go to 3, turn 6, yeah, I guess in your Rakdos deck, you probably have other speed cards, so yeah, that's fair. I don't know. And then whenever you attack, it deals 2. It could be like Rakdos aggro, kind of at the top of your curve. Like maybe you play the Mice package with this, I don't know, but then is this better than Shieldred? It's kind of tough. Not sure. I'm guessing this is all... we're probably going to skip over the uncommons and commons for the most part. So this is 2 mana for... see, these are cards that I haven't read yet. So 2 mana for a 2/3 Vigilance. Tap, add X, where X is its power. Spend this mana only to activate abilities. And you can exhaust for... is that 12 mana? Okay. 12 mana. Put any number of permanent cards from your hand onto the battlefield. Cool. Very cool. It's 10. Oh, because it makes 2 by itself. Okay, sure. Sure. I'm sorry. It's only 10. Seems cracked with Bard class. I mean, even without the other ability, right? Just 2 mana for a 2/3 Vigilance that makes 2 mana. It is kind of sick with Bard class. Okay. Alright, Pioneer Bard class enjoyers, you're welcome. Here you go. Boom Mobile. Alright, what is this? 4 mana, 5/5. When it enters, add 4 mana of any color. So it's just... oh, but you can only activate abilities. Okay. And then you can pay X and 2 red, deal X to any target, put a counter in this vehicle. And that only once. So turn 4, you play it, and then you can deal 1 to something and put a counter on it? Or you could just wait till next turn and do more, but then you're just burning the mana. It's kind of a weird one, right? 4 mana 6/6. Yeah. But even that, even as a 4 mana 6/6 that deals 1, I don't know if that's good enough. Use the 4 to equip Boots and Axe. Stop. Come on. I'm not buying it. Sure, I know you could have other activated abilities, but I don't know. Basically, like, this card seems like it's only good if you have other stuff in play, and it's almost never good by itself. That's the issue that I have. So, it's like, requires too many things for it to be good, I think. 4 mana, 4/2. When Caradora, the Explorer, enters, you may search your library for a mount or vehicle card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle. If one or more... Oh, I know where this line of text is going. If one or more +1/+1 counters would be put on a creature or vehicle you control, that many +1/+1/+1, say that 10 times fast, counters are put on it instead.
Did someone say scales?
So now we have, what, 3 different scales in Standard? Even though they're all terrible. You have scales all the way up the curve, right? You have the Kami, and now this. So you can just go turn 2 scales, turn 3 scales, turn 4. Well, you're not going to get to cast your 3rd scales because you're going to be dead by then. But yeah, Botanical Brawler too. 4 mana creature that dies to nowhere to run. Next! Look, it's cool, and I'll probably play it and lose a lot with it, but it's not very good. 2 mana 1/1, saddle 1, so pretty low saddle cost. When it attacks while saddled, put a counter on each of up to 2 target mounts and or vehicles. Okay, that one's actually close, because that one is good with the scale stuff. Kind of. I don't know. Alright, Bulwark Ox. 2 mana 2/2. Whenever this creature attacks while saddled, put a counter on target creature. Okay, that's kind of cool. Sacrifice this creature. Creatures you control with counters on them gain hexproof and indestructible until end of turn. And the saddle cost is only 1? That card's nice. That card is really cool. The fact that it kind of, like, not only fulfills itself, but even if you can't ever get into combat with it, if you just have a board with a bunch of stuff that has counters on it, then being able to protect that board is kind of sick. I mean, you know, hexproof and indestructible, not exactly what you would think hexproof and indestructible is, but, you know, anyways. It is good against split up, yeah. Maybe once Sunfall rotates, we can play cards like this, but until then, probably not. Yeah, hexproof, also not a keyword in that ability. Or in Standard. Alright, Zahur. Zahur. Glory's Past. 2 mana, 3/2. Start your engines. Sacrifice another creature, surveil. Oh, we actually have another unconditional sacrifice outlet that doesn't require oh wait, it's only once each turn. I can't do this shit. Why do they do this to me? I'm just like, I have this experience of reading a Magic card, and I'm like, I'm super into the card. I'm reading it, and everything is going awesome, and then I just get to those 5 devastating words, and I don't even want to do it. I just don't want to do it. Anyways, whenever a non-token creature you control dies, make a tap 2/2. I mean, I'm already off it. Though. I'm sure this card's probably fine, but I'm already kind of off it. I as soon as I saw those words, I'm next. Wait. The answer is probably yes. Yeah, because the oh my god, the Blood Artist triggers start your engines. That's kind of insane, right? That's kind of sick. So every time you're going through a Blood Artist loop, you can then get to 4 engine, and then once you get to the full speed, they just die on the spot. If you have Bartolome, you just go like, sack your board, make a 2/2, sack all the 2/2s, raise the past, everything back, you know what I mean? That is kind of sick, because the max speed ability is not once per turn. That's cool. So, interesting. No, I know that. So you have to wait a little while. But so this is 1 mana for a 2/1. Pay white, tap, exert, Bossary, make a cat, with lifelink, nonetheless. You can cycle it for 3, and when you cycle it, cats you control gain hexproof and indestructible, huh? If only those words had meaning. Well, unfortunately, those words do not mean anything. So, protection from X also would mean nothing. They need to give us... Isn't there like a white instant that just phases your whole board? Not Guardian of Faith, but I thought there was like a 2-mana white card that phased your whole board. Yeah, Teferi's protection, right? Yeah. Look, if you're going to give us Sunfall, at least give me Teferi's protection, okay? That's all I'm saying. 4-mana 5/5, Crypt Caller Chariot. 5/5 Menace. Whenever you discard one or more cards... This is the other line of text that I hate. One or more. Fuck off with that. Make that many tapped 2... Oh, okay. Well, that's fine. You know, if I had finished reading the card, I would have got the joke. Make that many tap 2/2 black zombie creature tokens. Honestly? Wait, this card's kind of fucked, huh? Is there... Okay. Here, question, and I know the answer to this. Is there a card in Standard that just has a line of text, discard a card, do X, no mana? Like, is there just, like, something that you can just, like, put into play, and you could just dump cards to it for whatever? There probably is, right? Not once per turn. I want, like, unconditional, I just want to dump my whole hand, not once per turn. Knight of Numinalia. That card is in Dominaria, right? It's a night card. Guardian of Numinalia, that's the one. Discard a card, gains indestructible. Okay, so there are some ways to do it, which is kind of cool. Yeah, Bloodthorn Flail. Okay, yeah. There might be something there with, like, just unconditional discard outlets. All right, next. Otchick, Emerald Radiant. 3 BBG, so 6 mana 3/3, 6 mana, dies to nowhere to run, by the way. When it enters, make a 1/1 insect for each artifact and or creature card in your graveyard. Another insect dies, put a counter on it, each opponent loses 1 life. I mean, so here's what happens when you cast this card. You pay 6 mana for a 3/3, and they say, with the trigger on the stack, I have priorities, and then your opponent pays 2 mana, and they cast this card. Okay, next, moving on. Thunderous Velocipede. 3 mana 5/5 trample. This thing's a mythic. So each other vehicle and creature you control enters with an additional +1/+1 counter on it if its mana value is 4 or less. I'm going to read that again. Vehicle and creature enters additional counter if its mana value is 4 or less. Otherwise, it enters with 3 additional counters. I mean, I guess? Is that good? I mean, the body is fine, right? 3 mana 5/5 trample, crew 3 is not bad. That's something at least, right? The body's good. Thunderous Velocipede, great with Rip Spawn Hunter. That is kind of a nice curve, yeah. We definitely have to take a look at Rip again, because there is a lot of vehicles in this set. So Rip might finally get its due. Oh, it's also 4 or less too, right, yeah. Anyways, I don't think it's very good. It is good against Sunfall, that is true. That's the one thing it has going for it. Alright, so Sita Vadma, Masked Racer. 2 mana 2/3, Exhaust. X GGU. Put X counters on it, then you may have the base, power, and toughness of each other creature you control become equal to its power until end of turn. X counters on it. So if I'd say I do this for, I don't know, 5 mana, right? I pay 5 mana, put 2 counters on it, then you have the base, power, toughness of each other creature you control become equal to it. So equal to 4. Well, that card sucks. I mean, it's cool. Busted and limited. 3/5 Vigilance. Whenever you activate an Exhaust ability, make a 1/1 Thopter. Good for limited. 4 mana 5/4. Ward 2, pay 2 life. Whenever you discard 1 or more cards, target creature gets +2/+0 for each card discarded this way. Whenever that creature deals combat damage to a player this turn, you draw a card. It's good with Inti, kind of. Yeah, the ward cost is nice. They have to pay 2 mana and 2 life to kill it. Kind of slow, though. It does go kind of nice with Inti, but 3 mana 3/3 Menace. Whenever you attack, draw a card, discard a card. This card is absurd and limited. And to be quite honest with you, it might even be good enough for Constructed. Because you don't need to have this be a creature to get that line of text, correct? You could just have this in play. Like, you don't even have to crew it. It just says whenever you attack. That's kind of sick, right? And it has crew 1, and it has Menace? I legitimately think this might be good enough for constructed. It's really close. It's very, very close. Wait, the card is called Boosted Sloop? What the fuck is a Boosted Sloop? I would search that on Google, but I might get demonetized if I show the results, so. Sloop is a type of boat. Anyways, moving on from the sloop. Okay. I think we're about to see the what my pick for best card in the set so far. Not Chandra Spark Hunter, though. So 4 mana, 4 loyalty. Beginning of combat on your turn, choose up to 1 target vehicle you control. Until end of turn, it becomes an artifact creature and has haste. +2, you may sacrifice an artifact or discard a card. If you do, draw. 0, make a 3/2 with crew 1. And then emblem, blah, 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 you win the game. Cool. So this card is interesting because it gives you a 3/2. Like, you don't need to crew the 3/2 to attack with it. The problem is, it doesn't defend itself. It has no way to kill a creature, and it has no way to present blockers. Now, if you have a 1-power creature, the 3/2 can stay on defense. But I don't know. I don't know how I feel about Chandra. It's close. I don't think Chandra's terrible, but I'm just not quite sure. It is very good against Sunfall, yes. Extremely good against Sunfall. Yeah, it's definitely more of an aggressive card than anything else, for sure. You know, like making 3/2 hasters every turn that, like, most of the time can't play defense. It's certainly more of an aggressive card than anything else. Consulate Dreadnought. It is kind of cool with Consulate Dreadnought. That is kind of sick. Yeah. With Skyboat, it is a nice curve. This on 4, Skyboat on 5. Yeah. All right, my pick. My pick for most powerful card in the set. Not necessarily my favorite, but I think this might be the best card in the set, that at least that I've seen so far. This is Colodin Triumph Caster. It is a red and white for a 2/3 that says mounts and vehicles have haste. Whenever a mount enters the battlefield, it automatically becomes saddled. Whenever a vehicle enters, it automatically becomes a creature until end of turn. This card is just kind of nuts. Like, really insane. It's just like every single vehicle and mount you play for the entire game has haste and full power. It's absurd. Now, it is a 2-mana 2/3, so it dies to a lot of stuff, cut down and things like that. But there is a lot of things you can do with this card. You can focus on mounts, you can focus on vehicles, you can do a little bit of both. It's just, God, it's so good. Loot seems a million times better. Nah. I mean, I don't think so, personally speaking. There's just, like, especially in a standard environment with, like, you know, lower power level, everything having haste and being full abilities without even doing anything else, I don't know, it sounds crazy to me. Alright, yeah, Colodin's great. Valor's Flagship. So this is a really cool throwback. So 7 mana for a 7/7, flying first strike lifelink, crew 3, but more importantly, it has cycling X2 and a white. When you cycle it, you can create X11 pilots, where the pilots, saddles, mounts, and crews vehicles as though power were 2 greater. So I'm not sure. I don't think that Valor's Flagship is better than Parhelion in the Greasefang deck, but what's important about Flagship with Greasefang is the fact that it cycles itself. So even if you don't have another discard outlet, you can just pay 3 mana, put it into the graveyard, untap, Greasefang, attack for 7. You know, 7/7 is not going to get the job done by itself, similar to, like, Parhelion. I don't know if it's better than Sky Sovereign, just because Sky Sovereign helps you, like, manage the battlefield, but, like, 7 lifelink maybe is good enough to where you don't have to manage the battlefield. But it's certainly, it being able to discard itself is interesting in Greasefang. That's kind of cool. Yeah, the big difference is that this is less hard castable than Sky Sovereign, so it is different for sure. Yeah, that's a very important part too, where in the games where they have Graveyard Hate, just being able to cycle this for, you know, 5 or 6 mana, make 2 or 3 1/1s, that's kind of cool. So it is better in games where they have Graveyard Hate, which is nice. Pyrewood Gearhulk. I don't know what to think about this card. So 2 RR GG, 6 mana, 7/7, Vigilance Menace. When it enters, other creatures you control get +2/+2, Vigilance and Menace, and damage can't be prevented this turn. So, I don't know. I mean, it is kind of just a big bozo. The other issue is it doesn't give... Well, I guess not being able to give other stuff haste is kind of not super relevant, but... it's good against the One Ring. True! See, people in my Discord were saying Cage, but you guys realize we already had Moonshaker Cavalry, and it's not like this card is going to be any easier to cast than Cavalry. Sure, it's less mana, but it is also double red, double green, which means your mana is going to be horrible. So, I don't see it. Mana Rock, tap at a mana of any color, tap. Cool. Next, limited. Alright, I don't like this card. I'm going to be a hot take. I think this card's trash. I don't like it. I'll read it. It is blue, blue, black, black. 4/4, lifelink ward 1. When it enters, look at target player's hand. Choose a card from it. If you do, that player discards, then draws a card. I don't really see it. So for the people who are saying you can target yourself, you're spending 4 mana for a 4/4 that loots. You wouldn't play 4 mana for you wouldn't pay 4 mana for a 4/4 that loots. That's terrible. When you target your opponent, like, sure, you can take lands, but how relevant is taking lands by the time you're casting a 4-drop? Like, it doesn't seem that relevant. The body's fine, but I don't think that this card is better than Shieldred or Curiosity, and I don't really see a situation where you would want to play this card over either of those cards. Yeah, that's true, because you can't even, if you're Hellbent, you can't even, like, cantrip, because it says if you do, that player discards that card, then draws a card. So, you can't even cycle it. It's like, it just seems very bad. Chrome box. So, this is the bonus sheet. This is only relevant for Timeless, which means it's not relevant at all, so we can move on. 3/3 Flying Vigilance, Crew 1. Good limited card. So now we get to Hazoret Godseeker. So I've heard some things about this, and we're going to talk about it. A red and a colorless for a 5/3 indestructible haste. Start your engines, so no speed, starts at 1. 1 tap, target creature with power 2 or less can't be blocked this turn, and Hazoret can't attack or block unless you have max speed. So I think this card would have had potential if it weren't for this. So, we probably have to wait a little bit. I'm just going to keep this here, because this card is just eternal. If there's any card that I'm telling you on this spoiler list that's not playable, it's because of this card. So, maybe if it was a 5/4, you could sell me on it. The ability is good. Like, don't get me wrong. The ability is fantastic, because even just having Hazoret in play gets to trigger Challenger and Hardfire Hero to a certain point, obviously. But it is good with Challenger. So, I don't know. So, we have this reoccurring theme on the channel. Now, whenever we look at spoilers for Standard, we always want to see if there are activated abilities that can be specifically for 2 mana activated abilities. And I will show you this card, Repurposing Bay, which says 2 and a blue, artifact. It's kind of like a birthing pod. You can pay 2, tap, sack an artifact, search for an artifact card with mana value equal to 1 plus the sacrifice artifact's mana value, put it onto the battlefield. Well, what if I told you we had a very easy way to pay that mana cost? Just saying. Just saying. Just saying. Yeah, the question is like, what are you actually searching for off of the bay? You know, I don't really know. Yeah, that's the thing. It's like we have the pod and the way to use the pod and get a discount, but I don't know what we're buying into. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's nice with Synthesizer. You can like sack. Oh, there isn't there. What's that card called? It's like, I think it's Draught something. This thing. So this is when it enters or dies, draw a card, lose a life. So you can go sack Draught or Tithing Blade to go get Synthesizer. And then you can sack, like, you know, another 2 to get another Synthesizer, so on and so forth. So, it's interesting, right? Anything good at 5? Mightstone and Weakstone, maybe? It is cool that the Leyline Axe is free for the pod. Find me any 4-mana artifact that's not blue-black Gearhulk, and I'll do it. Yeah, Sagan Carrot Cake is kind of cool. Honestly, I think, like, Simulacrum Synthesizer, Leyline Axe, Mightstone and Weakstone, like that kind of stuff, you know? I don't know if you want to get the Gearhulk. The One Ring, and Commander, maybe. Alright, cool card. I'm sure I'm going to spend a lot of time on that one. You guys want to talk about Bloodghast in Standard? Bloodghast in Standard? So, I don't know. I'm trying to think. In Standard. What can we do in Standard? I mean, there is a Rakdos Sacrifice deck with, like... What does it play for actual sacrifice outlets, though? Disturbing Mirth, Final Vengeance, Braids. It is nice with Braids. Yeah, Overlord 2. Bloodghast is huge for our beloved format. I mean, I would be interested in playing Pioneer if Pioneer was actually still a format. Yeah, it's good with Roots. It is very good with Roots. Is it good enough with Roots that you would consider playing stuff like Terramorphic Expanse and Fable Passage? Maybe. Yeah, maybe Passage, but not, like, nothing past Passage. But yeah, like Fable Passage, Sack Outlet, Insidious Roots, Tyvar, like that kind of stuff. I don't know if it's good with Vine Lasher, though, is the problem. It's like, Bloodghast, the mid-range deck wants to be playing, like, mid-range creatures and a bunch of kill spells, but Bloodghast kind of wants to synergize with very specific cards. It's less of a landfall card and more of a sacrifice card. So, like, those packages don't necessarily go all that well together, you know, is the issue. We can go next, though. I'm a big fan of Bloodghast. We don't have a lot left, do we? No, we don't have a lot left. All right, Quag Feast. So, 2 mana, choose a creature, planeswalker, or vehicle. Mill 2 cards, then destroy the chosen permanent if its mana value is less than or equal to the number of cards in your graveyard. I don't know. Interesting. It is kind of cool that we finally have Black Artifact Destruction. If this was an instant, maybe? Yeah, the sorcery makes it a lot worse. It is nice that, like, if you're playing a Reanimator deck, or some, like, if you really value the Mill 2, that's kind of nice about it. That's where it's good, right? But if you're just, like, some random deck that wants a black kill spell, it's not... You don't want it in a deck like that. Yeah, that's all I got. Next. Agonosaur Rex. So 5 mana, 8/8 trample. You can cycle it for a 2 and a G. When you cycle it, put 2 counters on a creature or vehicle against trample and indestructible until end of turn. I think this card's good, because it's 5 mana for an 8/8 trample, which is, like, fine-ish, and then you can cycle it to put 2 counters and give trample and indestructible. Also, the cycling is uncounterable. I don't know. Colossal Dreadmaw. Yeah, I know, right? Too many Dreadmaw memes. I don't know. I don't hate this card. Well, see, the thing is, you wouldn't want to play it for the 5 mana 8/8. You want to play it for the trick, right? The trick is the good part about this card. I'm saying that in the situations where the trick is not good, you have a buyout clause of a 5 mana 8/8. Obviously, the trick is the most powerful part about this card. But, I don't know. It's interesting. Yeah, it being a dinosaur is kind of important, because then you can play the Ixali's Lorekeeper. Alright. 5 mana, 6/6. Reach, trample, indestructible. Sabsunid can't attack or block unless it has an even number of counters on it. At the beginning of your first main phase, put a +1/+1 counter on Sabsunid. Then, if it has an odd number of counters on it, draw 2. So, you play it for 5. Wait, it's beginning of your first main phase? Why do they do this? Why could it just not be combat? Come on, man. This... Fuck me. Why do they do this to me? God damn it. They wouldn't be able to block. Yeah, but you would draw the cards immediately, right? Like, that's way better. This card is bonkers. I don't see it. It's good with Innkeeper's Talent, yeah. 5 mana, they can't attack you. You mostly untap and draw 2. 5 mana, they can't attack you. Yeah, but... they just... What happens when you tap 5 mana for your Sabsunin. You don't get to do anything the turn that you play it. And on the end of turn, your opponent casts Flood Pit's Drowner. And they tap your thing, and they go untap, attack you, and then shuffle away your frog that has indestructible. Then what do you do? It's just the same shit as Archfiend of the Dross. You just can't play these kinds of cards against Drowner and Kaido. You can't do it. Yeah, or they bounce it with Town. Like, you just can't play these kind of big, like, you cannot play expensive cards that do not have any impact in the battlefield in a format where people are playing Kaido, Drowner, and Town. It's just not, it's not feasible. You just can't do it. Yeah, also not great against Sunfall. Maybe, if you got the cards immediately, like if it was at the beginning of combat, and you'd got to draw the 2 cards off of it, sure, I could buy that. But, like, it's just, you can't play cards like this right now. Like, you're just gonna die. You know? I'm assuming these are all limited commons. 5 mana, 3/3, Flying Haste. Yeah, limited. So the only other, like, non-limited card, 2 mana, Draconautics? That's a made-up word. Engineer. 2 mana, 2/2. You can exhaust for red to give other creatures you control have haste, and to put a counter on this creature for 1 mana. And then for 4, you can make a 4/4 flyer. It is good with Cauldron, yeah. All words are made up. Yeah. They really are, if you think about it. I don't know. It is nice with Cauldron, I will say that. Not sure if I'm buying it. Like, I don't know if it's better than most of the other red 2-drops that exist, but it's close. Could be good in a Cauldron deck. That's it? That's all we got? Wait, did they not have the Verges? Are they just missing the Verges, or did I miss them? Oh, they just put them down here for some reason. There we go. I found it! I did it! Alright, here's the Verges. So, now the interesting thing to point out about these specific 5 is the color pairing, right? So, green is first before black. Very important for Llanowar Elf decks, because green-black usually an Elf deck. Blue before green, I guess that is good for the Terror decks, because they have a lot of blue cantrips, right? They're playing opt-in sleight of hand, so makes sense for the Terror decks. Black before white. Well, is there even a white-black deck? I mean, I guess there's the Esper Pixie decks, which... Do they want black before white? I guess for Nowhere to Run, maybe? I don't know, though. It's kind of awkward with Pixie. Yeah, discard spells, maybe? That's true. The Pixie decks don't want Verges, because they don't play a lot of, like, land. They don't have lands that have types. Yeah. Yeah, so Verge for Phoenix? Yeah, can't do that. Can't be doing that. Yeah, red before blue is kind of awkward. I guess red before blue is good in prowess decks? But I don't even know if the prowess decks are that good. There's really no other blue-red decks in Standard, is there? Yeah, it kind of is. And then the one that's the funniest for me is the red-white one, because the Boros decks have been missing a red-white land, and this one is just not even playable because you can't fucking cast any of your Heartfire Hero or Monastery Swiftspears off this. So it's like the deck that wanted the Verge the most can't even play this one. I mean, they might still play it. They probably will, but it's not, it's not ideal. Does the Convoke deck have enough type lands to play with the Verge? No, the Convoke mana base is usually very similar to the Pixie mana base, where it's just fast lands and pain lands. All right, I think that's it. Is that everything? I think we've covered literally everything. Cool. Well, folks, that was a first look at Aetherdrift. I'm not sure if this is going to go on YouTube, but if it is, I hope you enjoyed the video. Like, subscribe, comment, and maybe we'll be back with more spoilers.